We're taking you inside the somewhat secretive, slightly stigmatized world of South Korean preppers, where a worried mother is preparing for disaster.
핵이 이제 우리나라에 공격을 당했을 때 어떻게 되는지.
A Seoul businessman
20cm 미사일도 방어할 수 있는 이거 두께입니다.
is building luxury underground bunkers. And South Korea's most famous survivalist
And warmer. Portable battery. He also has a fire starter.
carries a small go bag everywhere he goes. They're part of a tiny but growing community quietly bracing themselves for the unthinkable. War with North Korea. Sparks flew across the Pacific this past year as North Korea test-fired ICBMs, or intercontinental ballistic missiles, thought to be capable of reaching the continental United States.
They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
미국 번터 전역이 우리의 핵 타격 사정권 안에 있으며
If it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea.
And with the latest show of force from the North this morning, South Koreans say they're left feeling caught in the crossfire between two nuclear powers.
We've been anxious about North Korean provocation since Korean War, more than 70 years.
The bullseye has been on South Korea for decades.
The main target is South Korea, I think.
Grab your bag and go.
We asked Seung Yeob Woo, the prepper, to run me and my producer through a hypothetical evacuation.
이거 같은 경우 안전한 쉘터를 찾는 거죠.
It geotags you and tells you where the nearest evacuation center is.
지금 시간이 우리가 5분밖에 없기 때문에
Because North Korea is only 70 kilometers away, he estimates we have about 5 minutes to get to an evacuation center. He says he wouldn't even stop to call his family.
There's a sign right here that says shelter. We should keep going. Let's go. Rather than the first floor of the parking garage, he would want to go deeper.
But on the surface, the rest of Seoul, like the ritzy Gangnam district, looks like this. You'd never sense the geopolitics swirling around this fractured peninsula.
저는 솔직히 전쟁 날 것 같다고 생각하지 않아요.
In fact, a surprising majority of South Koreans say they believe there's zero chance their neighbors to the north would start a war.
걱정한다고 될 문제는 아니고.
Foreign policy analysts warned that an attack on this teeming capital would be catastrophic. What's worse, if there's really need for a mass evacuation, there's basically just one major route heading south.
It's only 2.5 hours by bullet train from Seoul to Busan in the southern coast. It's the city where my parents and most of that generation fled to during the Korean War. And yet most analysts today don't even want to think about what it would be like to have 10 million people in Seoul trying to leave at the same time.
And most Koreans don't want to think about it either. It's business as usual. It's part bravado, part avoidance. But even here, the heat of President Trump's rhetoric does not go unnoticed.
김정은이가 말을 안 들으면 미국에서 지금 말로나 해서 안 된다고 이렇게 지금 보급되고 있잖아요.
Do you think that President Trump's rhetoric has made things more dangerous?
I think the big issue with President Trump, the commentary, is that he's begun to normalize the idea of using force against North Korea.
Robert Kelly teaches politics here in Busan and is a regular TV pundit.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
Now famously known as the BBC dad.
Region. I think one of your children has just walked in.
From this video, one of the top 10 viral moments of last year.
Pardon me.
A rare bit of humor in his otherwise sobering day job, talking about the risks of nuclear Armageddon.
And so the idea is that, I'm holding a gun to your head, you're holding a gun to my head, right? And as long as we both won't pull the trigger, we're both okay.
That's classic arms control.
Yeah, it's nuclear deterrence.
The Kellys have a lot on the line.
You want to go faster? Ready?
Yes.
Wife Jong-Un Kim is Korean, and this is home for their family.
Daddy, let's get together.
They invited us to a home-cooked Korean meal.
It's a winter kimchi.
Oh, it looks amazing. Kimchi is very much the national dish.
Our lunchtime conversation, what it's like to live under the threat of war.
And the nuclear
blessed. When do we have to do? But most of Korean people doesn't know how to do.
I'm actually surprised at how nonchalant Koreans are about it. I ask my students, I'm like, okay, so like if the klaxons go off and it's like the real thing, it's like, what are you going to do? And they're all like, I don't know, go home.
Why do you think Koreans don't think about it or don't prepare?
Used it.
Boy who cried wolf problem, right? I mean, the North Koreans have been saying since, what, the 60s that they would turn Seoul into a sea of fire or something like that. I mean, nobody believes them anymore.
They know, we know. If we have a new war, it will be a big war, then both countries will be collapsed.
Which may be why Kim Jong-Un sent a delegation to rare face-to-face talks just ahead of the Pyeongchang Olympic Games. And the two countries agreed to a joint women's hockey team.
Some people have mixed feelings about the genuine intention.
Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon sees it as a step forward.
In the United States, during the Nixon administration, we called it ping-pong diplomacy.
Yes.
This, in some ways, is hockey diplomacy.
I have seen such a power which can instantly mobilize a passion and a friendship through sports.
Even Kim Jong-un's own sister is attending the Olympics, the first time a member of the ruling family will step foot in the South.
There's a lot of mistrust of North Korea.
You see all the behavioral patterns which North Korea have been doing during the last many decades.
Are you ever concerned that the escalating rhetoric could lead to a nuclear altercation?
Even though it is unsettling, but I think it has some psychological impact against the North Korean regime.
It's sort of like fighting fire with fire.
Of course.
But Kyung-ah Yang says watching the rhetorical volleys can be nerve-wracking. Her 11-year-old son has had trouble sleeping after seeing images of warfare.
혹시라도 막 전쟁이 일어났다거나 그러면 어디서 만나? 학교? 혹시 핵이 터졌다 그러면 운동장 밖에서 만나면 안 되잖아. 그렇죠.
Yet while citizens may be anxious, the South Korean government says they see value in the combative exchanges.
Maybe we can give the credit to Trump on some part in terms of making North Korea come to negotiation table.
Politicians like Soo Hyuk-lee warn that military action, even a limited strike targeting North Korea's nuclear weapons, would be a colossal mistake.
North Korea has a border with China and Russia.
It could trigger an international conflict.
Only one option is left: negotiation, diplomacy. No other way.
For Woo, the prepper, combat with North Korea is something he's already seen up close.
밤이고 나시고 뭐 총소리가 들리고 교전을 하고.
In 1996, he was a paratrooper in the South Korean army when North Korea sent dozens of commandos in a submarine to infiltrate the South.
또 저희 동료들이 머리에 총탄을 맞아갖고 사망을 했었고 되게 무서웠었죠.
Woo says it inspired him to become a survivalist. And he's not alone.
반갑습니다. Thank you.
Won Hyuk-go's underground bunkers are attracting attention.
북한에서 미사일을 쏜다든지 뭐 핵 관련해서 하면은 뭐 문의가 많이 옵니다. 한 40통, 50통 전화가 옵니다.
Equipped with everything from oxygen to a hand-cranked power generator. He's yet to see booming sales. But 20,000 people take part in a digital prepping forum Woo's created, and some are beginning to take classes as well.
전쟁 위협도 크잖아요.
Taking careful notes, Yang, that concerned mom who hopes that prepping will ease her son's anxiety.
이건 우빈가 보다.
그럼
아니에요?
배너라고 해서.
네. 와, 그래도 혹시라도 모르니까 이걸 준비하는 게 좋은 것 같아, 그치?
Preparation that millions hope will prove unnecessary.